North and South Korea, whether in combat or under a tense ceasefire, the two countries have been at war from almost the moment they were born. And then, all of a sudden, the two Korean leaders meet for the first time in over a decade and declare,
한반도의 불안정한 정전 체제를 종식시키고 항구적이고 공고한 평화 체제를 구축해 나가기로 합의했습니다.
But what does it mean? What would peace even look like?
This meeting between Moon and Kim is likely just the first step in a process that will be long and uncertain.
Let's start from the beginning. In 1953, a bloody war between the North, backed by Communist China, and the US-led coalition in the South was suspended with an armistice.
We have stopped the shooting.
A so-called demilitarized zone was established between North and South. To this day, the DMZ remains one of the most heavily militarized borders on Earth. That's the building where Kim and Moon met, by the way. Could this line be erased to make Korea one country again? Young people we interviewed in Seoul are skeptical.
Should the unification happen, then you're going to have to deal with differences. That terrifies me because I don't think that we are ready.
Korean has more confidence about government. Government is for people. But it seems like a North Korean is that government is the God. If we are controlled by North Korea government, I will leave the country.
People on both sides of the border have fantasized about the prospects of unification. The Kims repeatedly threatened to invade and, quote, liberate the South, while many South Koreans have believed that their government would someday take over the peninsula following the collapse of the regime.
Some people look to Germany and the unification of Germany as a model for the two Koreas. However, there are some vast differences as well. The two Germanys did not fight a war against each other. The income gap was much less in the two Germanys.
Today, merging the wealthy South and the impoverished North would be a complicated undertaking, and a very expensive one for Seoul.
In that case, we're talking about $1 trillion at least, and then right now that represents 100%. I mean, that's the size of a South Korean GDP at the moment. So that's prohibitively expensive in many ways, and probably it's beyond what South Korea alone could afford.
That would leave you with two countries having to figure out a way to coexist. Many experts say that, though far from ideal, it is at least possible.
Coexisting peacefully as a divided peninsula, but with frequent or endless exchanges between the two Korean peoples and between the two Korean governments.
North and South Korea's leaders said they would work to make the peninsula nuclear-free.
앞으로 완전한 비핵화를 위해 남과 북이 더욱 긴밀히 협력해 나갈 것을 분명히 밝힙니다.
But what does that mean to Pyongyang? Well, that's where it gets really tricky. North Korea argues it needs nuclear weapons for self-protection, pointing to hostile military forces nearby, like the 28,500 American troops stationed in South Korea.
미국 본토 전역이 우리의 핵 타격 사정권 안에 있으며
Kim Jong-un has recently announced major achievements in his nuclear program, and it will be challenging to convince him to give it all up.
The weapons you are acquiring are not making you safer.
The thing is, the US and its allies have said that they're never going to acknowledge North Korea as a nuclear power.
This is where the art of negotiations really come into play. If the two sides fail to show any type of flexibility, then the danger and the risk is that we might see a return to the dangerous situation we were in last year with lots of bluster, with military posturing, and that could lead to any type of miscalculation and perhaps even escalate into a type of conflict.
Security experts we spoke to wondered if North Korea might be able to have a status like Israel, where its nuclear program isn't recognized, but it's somewhat tolerated.
So what kind of signal would that send to the rest of the world or some third-party observer who might contemplate nuclear breakout in the future.
In any case, a peace deal would require support from the US and from China, which remains North Korea's primary ally.
中方支持半岛早日结束战争状态。
Still, past negotiations over the last decades fell through. Twice because North Korea was allegedly secretly pushing forward its nuclear program, despite promises of denuclearization.
우리에게도 이제 새날이 밝아온 것 같습니다.
분명하게 확인한 것은 평화에 대한 확고한 의지를 가지고 계시다는 점을 확인했고
이르러서 우리 온 민족과 또 평화를 바라는 이 세계 모든 사람들에게 큰 선물을 만들어줬으면 좋겠습니다.
Parties can easily declare peace, but that doesn't mean that peace has actually come to the Korean Peninsula. And that does not mean that peace will last.